The zombie takeout operation should have finished over a year ago, but you slowed us down. What's up? Welcome to episode 325 of Zombie Takeout. The B-movie and cult movie podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, we've got some listeners submitted. This is from Bodo on Twitter. He said, 1974, Caged Heat. 4 years later, Debbie Does Dallas. A few prison/jail scenes in that one, so I got Cage to thank for my first triple X. Jail scenes are kind of a staple in porn. It would be interesting if they started with Caged Heat. I suspect they probably go back longer than that. It's kind of a power dynamic thing.
I don't know. Even like the word staple and porn, like, when are those two things even brought together? And like what decade? It could have been the 70s, really.
Could have been, yeah. And Bodo also left us a voicemail. I'm just going to mention what he said in it instead of editing it in because we're a little crunched for time. He just asked us what our favorite old school monster movies were because Universal is rebooting the monsters.
That's a tough call. I mean, I'm almost as fatigued by them as I am by superhero movies, really.
Uh-huh. I've had a bit more time to think about it because I just told you the question like 10 minutes ago. If I'm going like classic Hammer, I would say Horror of Dracula, which we reviewed a couple years ago, Christopher Lee's first movie. Or his first turn as Dracula.
Well, I mean, we've had so many vampire movies since, it's...
I'm thinking old school, like Hammer or earlier. My real favorite, if I'm ignoring Hammer, is Nosferatu, going way back to 22. Because Max Schreck in that makeup was just so incredibly creepy. And the way he rose out of the coffin is still one of the scariest things I've ever seen.
I thought he was asking us for like what we'd want to see rebooted, but
oh no, he said what are your favorite monster movies back in the day?
I see.
Favorite classic, old school like Hammer era, I would guess, or earlier.
I've kind of always liked the Abbott and Costello, and
that's what he said. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein was his favorite
because it's just combining two genres, where you just least expect to see them combined back then.
I think I just still, even though they've been played out for a long time, I just still like vampires.
And that Boris Karloff was a cocksucker.
And a little bit of news. I had this bookmark to talk about on the show this week, but you kind of scooped me in the Facebook group.
Well, come on. This is huge.
Yeah, true. Well, actually, I don't know which story we're talking about here. I don't think we're talking about the big one. Okay. We can get into the big one if you'd like, but
all right.
The less interesting one, but more relevant to this show, from Starburst magazine, Sharknado 5 announced for August premiere.
Okay, that's not the big.
That's the lesser one, I know. When you said this is huge, I'm like, you can't be talking about Sharknado.
No.
Sharknado 5 will premiere on August 6th. The film will officially be titled Sharknado 5 Global Swarming, with its tagline being that it will make America bait again. Love that. Especially if you think in terms of, the Mike Judge movie, Idiocracy.
And then the picture of just the shark flying through space is hilarious.
Some of the cameo and guest stars and such will be Gilbert Gottfried. I think he's been in all of them.
Yeah.
Kathy Lee Gifford's been in a couple. Clay Aiken is new. Tony Hawk, nice to see him. Olivia Newton-John, that's kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Bret Michaels, Margaret Cho, nice. Al Roker, he's been in a couple.
Yeah, I think he's been in almost all of them too.
Charo, Fabio, and Chris Kattan. I don't know where they found him because it's been ages.
Because remember, they had like the Today Show was like the Greek chorus.
Right, in the second one.
A couple of those movies, I think. Yeah.
That was mostly in the second one. It'll once again be directed by Anthony C. Ferrante, though I think Thunder Levin won't be writing it. He wrote, I think, the first 3 or 4. And the official blurb says, the mission gets personal for Finn Shepard and his bionic wife, April, when their young son gets trapped in a traveling NATO and transported all over the world, from London to Rio, Tokyo, Rome, and Amsterdam. The heroes seek assistance from royals, scholars, Olympians, and, of course, talking heads on the news in their epic battle. I think, and this is, I'm really avoiding a pun here, but they're jumping the shark.
The shark. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Traveling all over the world. He's trapped by a NATO.
One.
Yeah. Hopefully this is, I hate to say this about Sharknado, but hopefully this is the last one, because I don't think, this sounds like a finale. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Hopefully they do ride out with this one.
Yeah.
Even this one sounds like it's too much, but I mean, why not? What else you got?
Yeah, I don't know. They may redeem the franchise. 4 was kind of weak, so maybe they'll come back strong again, you know? And, of course, the big news. You want to take this one?
Oh my God. What's there to say? I mean,
well,
17 years.
The lead.
17 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Terry Gilliam has somehow finished the man who killed Don Quixote.
Yeah, I think is it shot or killed?
I believe he was killed.
Okay. Yeah, he has been trying to make this movie from what, the 80s?
17 years.
Oh, so just around 2000. Okay, I thought it was like from the 80s because I know Johnny Depp was originally in it.
I think he was going to put Johnny Depp in it, but that was still, 90s.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah.
Instead, he went off and did the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'll believe it when I see it.
And that, of course, is from AV Club. You can find that on our Facebook page.
And there were still some hurdles with some rights and some editing issues and yada.
Well, I think Disney's doing Man of La Mancha again.
Yeah,
so Don Quixote's stories kind of, they were trying to push him out.
When it gets to a theater, I'll accept that it's happened.
That's true.
Even if it's one theater or two, you know, even if it just premieres in New York and LA, okay, he did it. Until then, I'm skeptical.
Yeah, but I will certainly see it. Of course.
Of course. If it does come out, I absolutely will see it.
I hope it's good after all this.
Yeah. It is kind of the worst possible development hell, isn't it?
You know, there's so many movies where like, where you hear people say this better be good, or they better have done this right. And of course, how many movies can you honestly say that about anymore? Mm-hmm. But the man took 17 years to fucking make this movie. Uh-huh. You just hope for his sake that it's a good movie.
Even Shane Carruth hasn't taken that long yet.
Yeah, he's gonna get there though.
Oh yeah. All right, so on to this week's movie, which is from 2016, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. And yes, those were air quotes.
Yeah.
Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by nepotism. Sometimes it is the right choice.
And also brought to you by Paul Anderson for a new absolutely positively have to bore every motherfucker in the room, except no substitutes.
You might be the one person who calls this movie boring, or any of these movies boring.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can levy a lot of criticisms to the Resident Evil series, but I don't know if boring is one of them. This
was a rerun of a movie.
Well, that's true.
Everything we've seen in this movie, we've seen in the last 5 before it. This was...
Not to mention the Road Warrior.
Right. It started out something that, this could have potential. You know, you could kind of go along the carnage of the last 5 movies, and instead we got the impromptu plot summary. All right, so it's right after the last one. She's in DC. There's still zombies all about. The Red Queen suddenly tells her, "Oh, there's we're going to do this thing." They never explain what it is, but all of the last remnants of mankind are going to be all killed off at like a certain time. Again, not telling you what they're doing. By the way, there's an antidote for the virus at the fucking place that we started 6 movies ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I was waiting for a French knight to be guarding it to taunt it. I mean, at least the Grail did it all in one movie. But anyway, so the quest is for her to go back to Raccoon City to uh, break a vial open that's somehow going to spread throughout the world.
Hmm.
So she, of course, encounters people from the Umbrella Corporation trying to stop her. They have this gag where you need a thumb to start a motorcycle. So she, of course, chops a hand off, starts it, and then never needs the hand again to restart it, or I guess never shuts it off. It has enough fuel to go from DC to Raccoon
She
City.
doesn't really stop until she gets to Raccoon City.
But you see, she like leaves it standing and then comes back and
Oh yeah, true.
starts stuff. Yeah, the whole hand gag just used once.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, she runs into an old friend. They had to bring somebody else back other than heavies from the series. The ones that left in the plane from 4, was it?
Uh-huh.
So,
well, I think it was 5. The end of 5, we last saw Claire.
Oh, it was 5. We last saw them when they came on. They went off of the plane.
Mm-hmm.
So they band together to go back into Raccoon City. There's a lot of zombies. I mean, as soon as the movie began, it was like, how would we not see that Alice and Alicia are the same person? Spoiler alert: Alice and Alicia are the same name. And then, of course, I went back. The Red Queen's name was Angie originally. That they just changed for this movie.
Well, they also changed the actress who plays the Red Queen, so we wouldn't have noticed it in the previous movies.
Right.
Megan Charpentier had outgrown the role of the Red Queen, which she previously played in Retribution, and was recast with Mila Jovovich and Paula W.S. Anderson's real-life daughter, Everett Anderson, which is why she looks exactly like Alice.
Well, right. So, yeah.
Her daughter looks exactly like her.
Terribly shocking spoiler that they are, in fact, one and the same all of a sudden. And that we realized the real Alice was frozen with the other bigwigs, and then there's some bad guy clone, and some more zombies, and hilarity ensues.
As I said last week, it's the Road Warrior, and then a rehash of the first movie with a Little Orphan Black mixed in.
Well, the Matrix.
Matrix.
I
don't see the Matrix.
Well, the fight scene.
Oh, of course, the fight scenes are very Matrix, yeah.
I mean, God, the other guy's practically dressed like...
Lexer is very Matrix and all the black and shiny, yeah.
And then when they have the fight, and he's all, he's super fast, and they're, of course, full of frozen people, Well,
just in terms of story, it doesn't really borrow from the Matrix. The fight scenes are, of course, very similar. The story is again, the Road Warrior for the first half. Even up to when she's trying to protect the settlement, that's straight out of the Road Warrior. And then they break back into the facility that they were trying to break out of in the first movie. And then there's a whole cloning Orphan Black thing.
Well, yeah.
Though I did like that they changed the opening recap a little bit. It was some more backstory on the T-virus. It finally filled in all of those details before we get just the rehash of what happened in the previous movies.
I mean, I only had a half hour when I started watching this. I was worried that wasn't going to be enough time to fit all of the exposition. So it went on forever.
It was about 5 minutes, actually. First 5 minutes of the movie is Alice's opening monologue, which is in every movie.
Yeah.
Every Resident Evil movie. And again, Everett Anderson, great casting. I don't know if she was dubbed. She had an English accent. It sounded like the previous versions of the Red Queen, but she's a dead ringer for her mother, so great casting there. The kid zombie on the gondola, on the cable car, was nicely creepy. The patient zero or zombie zero, effectively.
How the virus started.
Yeah. And it was just nice to get some backstory on Umbrella. Because I know I'm coming from a perspective of not having played the game, so I don't know what the official backstory is. So it filled in some, details of the movie.
I don't know if we needed these details.
I always like to get those kind of, backstory details. Now, my one disappointment, and we are going to be completely opposite. We might do a full, 7-10 split on this one. My one disappointment, the big battle that they set up at the end of the last movie where they're all on top of the White House took
Yeah.
place between movies, of course.
Yeah. And that's really the one disappointment about this movie.
Really, just it. That's really it.
The ending didn't disappoint you. The ending is a the ending. I had to take a brain off for the ending.
Okay.
Holy fuck! The ending is just such bullshit.
We'll get to that. Let's take it in order.
Okay.
I did like seeing the big dragon in action because they teased that at the end of the last movie, and we did get to see her take on the big mutant dragon thing. Although she was awfully close when that mine went off. And I get that it's not going to hurt Alice because she's superhuman. But what about her clothes?
I mean, there's a lot of ridiculous...
There's a lot of people jumping away from explosions, yeah. It's a fucking Resident Evil movie.
How about the scene where it wasn't her, Alice, it was the other one in the glass enclosure that sets off an explosion right next to her foot?
Mm-hmm.
And
it was a little cherry bomb. And I like how she improvised the cherry bomb.
But her foot was right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough to blow your foot off.
Yeah, if it did take out the glass, it would do some damage.
Yes!
But they're the heroes. You see, with Resident Evil movies, you have to buy the conceit that, the heroes are superhuman.
Oh my god. Which just makes it boring. When you know there's nothing that's going to happen to them, even when there's supposed to be something that happens to them. It's just like, oh, great, she's still alive. Of course. We just have more zombies running after them. I mean, that's what makes it boring. There's no
stakes.
It was pointless.
There are no stakes because these movies are about explosions and fight scenes. And ridiculous, jumps and leaps in logic. That's the whole point of these movies.
This is Sharknado, pretty much. You can't make fun of Sharknado if this is done without winking or anything. I mean, there's just so many errors in putting it together. There's so many, even when they put the whole story together and they just change the story to fit with what they've got for this movie, that's ridiculous.
Well, what did they change in the story? I don't really pay much attention to the stories in these movies.
Well, the whole Angie to Alice thing, that's crazy.
I never caught that she was Angie in the first movies.
Well, I was kind of like, I would have noticed that, Alice and Alicia, that's the same name. I would have noticed that films ago.
Wait, no, you're off. Angie, I think, was the other little girl in the second movie, the doctor's daughter who was trapped in the city with all the monsters. I think that was Angie.
That's who they made the
no, that's not her.
For.
No, that wasn't her.
I thought so.
That was someone else. Because I was trying to remember, they never named the Red Queen before. She was just the Red Queen.
And then they suddenly named the Red Queen Alicia in this movie.
Well, because they have to now establish that the whole cloning thing. And we knew there were clones of Alice. And they heavily suggested that she wasn't the original, so...
Well, right. So that wasn't that big a deal towards the end to find that there was somebody from the corporation in there. And yeah, you kind of figured out, in the beginning, that, well, that's the same name. Once that's her name.
Yeah. And the fact that, again, it's her daughter who's a dead ringer. They don't really keep that reveal very secret. At least not terribly well.
The speed of the zombies, though, I mean, when Alice is behind the tank, and when she's strapped, they can't quite catch up to her. And then when she's not back there, they're all alongside the vehicle. It was just terrible.
Well, yeah, it's a Resident Evil movie, of course. When she cuts off Isaac's hand and they put the little rubber glove over his stump, I could see his knuckles.
Yeah.
To me, that's endearing for a Resident Evil movie. That's not something to take points away. I did like the fight on top of the tank right before then when she cuts off his hand, too.
When the first fight in Raccoon City started, I was like, oh, okay, they're really going to do this. And then it was like, oh, the Asian guy knows martial arts.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, the whole trap, it just, I don't know.
Yeah, and, the guy who said you're going to regret it, he's dead meat. The guy who doesn't want her, included in the group because he doesn't trust her. And I'm really not sure what his accent was. He could have been Latino. He could have been Cajun.
And the whole there's a mole, there's a rat in the group, was just such a tired thing too.
But at least they lay that out early, so it's not expected to be a surprise when it happens. You know it all along. I thought it was going to be the chick who flipped off the camera. I thought that was going to be a signal to Wesker until she flew into the fan 5 minutes later.
That fan sucked, by the way.
But
that was from the scene where the shit really hit it.
Mm-hmm. By the way, why did the undead army show up on a heat sensor?
Why would you stop the fan after it only killed one person? Why wouldn't you just let the fan keep running until they all died?
Maybe she gummed it up.
They have to tire out eventually.
Yeah, maybe she gummed it up.
It looked like it was still running, and he just stopped it.
Also, when we hear the voice of adult Alicia from behind, it's obviously Milla Jovovich.
Of course.
So they weren't really hiding that either. I did like the explanation as to why the Red Queen turned on Umbrella. Because she had these two conflicting orders. And she can't hurt Umbrella, but she can't let humanity die out.
And I'm sorry, who was it that killed all the people in the hive in the first movie again? Employees of Umbrella in the hive?
Well, she wasn't directly responsible for the virus getting deployed like that, though.
But she was the one that closed everything off so they would get killed in there.
I don't know if that was her decision or if it was just an automatic protocol.
She trapped them all in there. Tried to kill Alice, too, if I'm not mistaken.
You're analyzing this way too damn much. It's a fucking Resident Evil movie. Turn your brain off and enjoy the ride.
I watched the movie and expected it to make some sort of sense.
After seeing the previous 5, you expected a Resident Evil movie to make sense?
I'm sorry that Paul Anderson doesn't operate above a 5th grade writing level.
Well, no.
And then there was the end where they had to have the confrontation between Isaacs and Alice, where he magically is somehow there with her. Even though, I mean,
well, he should after she falls. It was a nice nod to the cube there, by the way, when they're going through the ducts. But yeah, she falls onto the floor out of the ductwork, and he's suddenly right there.
And he's there to catch the vial. And, then, of course, he's confronted by the clone.
Oh, okay, you're later in the movie than I am.
Yeah.
We're skipping over a lot. But yeah. At the very end, he ends up outside. Yeah, he did that a couple of times. He got to a location more quickly than he should have.
And then the zombies are surrounding them. But then when she needs to get the vial, they're no longer there. She just comes and picks up the vial. The zombies are suddenly far away.
Yeah.
And she can drop
she needs
the vial.
Time to drop it and kill them all.
Right. So now the zombies have magically pushed back a good 20, 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And this one vial somehow has the contents to just go into the air.
Oh, yeah. It's an airborne antivirus.
Throughout the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to dissipate into the atmosphere.
If that one vial of the virus could do that, one vial of the antivirus should be able to do that.
But that's spread from person to person. They even say that at the end, where that the virus itself was spread through modern day transportation and the antivirus doesn't have that luxury, so it's going to take a while to do it. It's going to dissipate.
It's the last movie. Who cares?
But the logic, we're going to break it and it's going to be underground. It's not going to make it above ground. By that law, no, it shouldn't. If it can make it around the world, it shouldn't matter if it was done underground or above ground.
Also, just a couple of shout-outs. It was nice to see the laser hallway again from the first movie. Though I have to wonder why he didn't use the grid, which, is what ended up killing them in the first one.
Right. The Galaxy Quest.
Exactly.
I mean, I think they missed the opportunity. They should have gone over more of the carnage from the last films. Like, oh, this is where we did this kind of thing. I guess ending there with the climactic fight scene would have made sense.
Yeah.
But instead we got the vial outside and the
Yeah.
zombies.
She drops the vial. The antivirus, or I think did they call it an antivirus? The antidote spread.
Yeah.
You see this wave of zombies who is running at her just all fall over. Very cheesy, but I got a laugh out of it. And then she gets her memories back. You find out she was created at the mansion. You know, she has no memories from before that. She didn't exist before that. Big surprise. I think everybody knew that.
Yeah.
She puts in this contact lens that of the original, downloaded her memories into, and she gets her memories back, and she's a real girl.
Yep.
I liked it.
The antidote does not kill her.
No.
She survives.
Because the zombies were dead. She's not dead. She's a carrier, effectively.
So we get a happy ending with the room for another sequel.
She drives off and says, the virus is going to take a while to spread. My job's not done. And of course, she's not superhuman anymore, but she does know how to fight. So yeah, they could do more movies.
That is just an abomination. Seriously, Paul Anderson should be kneed in the groin for this. I mean, 6 movies of this. 6.
6 movies of great explosions and fight scenes and completely ridiculous plot holes.
There was no great fight scene in this, though, really.
I mean,
it's all derivative of The Matrix and just other zombie movies that have come before it. The explosions, they're kind of just CGI explosions. There's nothing really outstanding in that either.
It's just fun and ridiculous and excessive, and that's why I love them.
Sippy movie pretty much glorified I'm not
and I love those too.
Who else is coming to see these in the theater? But they need to stop. They just need to stop.
Well, they're going to stop, apparently. I mean, unless they decide to do more.
They're not going to stop.
Well, this series is supposedly done. There hasn't been any confirmation of any more.
They left room for a 7th.
They did.
And of course, the rumor is they're rebooting this already.
On to sequels and remakes?
On to sequels and remakes.
Now, as we said, a sequel is possible after this, because as she says, her work isn't done. There's also a Netflix series rumored based on this version of Resident Evil. Some sources say it's false. Netflix hasn't confirmed it either way. However, the thing that has been confirmed is that Constantine Films announced a new 6-film franchise at this year's Cannes Film Festival, with James Wan serving as executive producer. From what I understand, these will be much closer to the games.
Well, the fans are hoping it will be more like the games.
Yeah, fans of the game are hoping that, of course, because fans of the games always hated these because they have nothing to do with the games.
They spent, 20 minutes of the first film in the mansion?
Mm-hmm.
That was the entire first game.
Right. On to brains?
On to brains.
Like I said, I was a little disappointed that we didn't see the big fight at the White House. Beyond that, it's a Resident Evil movie. I love them. I'm going 4.5.
Wow, you'd recommend someone to see this?
Of course, I recommended all the others.
Oh my god. Yeah. This is one of those, may God have mercy on your soul, Paul Anderson. I'll give it a single brain. I mean, like I said, I took one off for... It was kind of mediocre, but then, I thought, at least we're going to get a great death scene at the end and finally, close the door on this. And then we're like, nope, we're just going to keep the door open so we can make Orgasmo 27. So, yeah, one brain is even being generous for this. This really... Watch something else. There's 101 things to watch on Netflix. There's no need to watch this.
And what have you learned?
Cerebus can't swim?
You stole mine. So I have 2 here. I'll go to my other one.
Why can't they doggy paddle? Seriously.
Yeah, I was going to say zombie dogs can't swim, but I'll go with my other one. Sometimes the end isn't necessarily the end.
Boy.
All right, so until next time, we'll be reviewing Johnny Mnemonic. It'll get worse for me. It'll probably get better for you. It doesn't seem like it can get much worse.
I don't know.
I think it's our first Keanu movie.
I'm scared to say that.
All right, so until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course, the episode itself, which you're already listening to. Links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. Links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We really appreciate it. And of course, if you enjoy the show, spread the word. Give us a little word of mouth. Of course, we appreciate all of the listeners we have, but more would be better. You'll also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review. I think it's up through the one after Singles. It's Sorceress, the Michael Parks tribute. That's the last one we have lined up. Although I should put the what was the other two-parter we were talking about last time? It wasn't a tribute thing.
A lot of planned movies ahead, and we know there's going to be more
tributes.
In
last week's episode, I'll look into it.
I'm suddenly nostalgic for tribute episodes after this week, though.
We've got a couple more coming up in about a month.
Yeah.
And of course, the recommendations list. Obviously, I knew this didn't have a shot in hell getting on the rec list. It's a Resident Evil movie. It went pretty much as I expected.
It's Sharknado without the jokes.
It is a joke.
But they're not winking at all. They're not telling... No, they are serious about this. This is not a joke. They believe they're making a great action movie here.
I don't think so. I think Paul Anderson is totally in on the joke. He knows this is shit, and he just goes completely over the top and ridiculous with it to make it as entertaining as possible.
No, I think this is just a cash grab.
Well, it's that too, of course.
And I don't think it's a joke.
Anyway, of course, you can email us zombietakeout@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-CTO1 or for the alphanumerical challenge.
I wouldn't wish them to watch these 6 movies.
414-368-9861. Of course, always remember that you will always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee. And until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
You could end all of this. Why don't you?
I feel the need to point out before we go, I was going to skip this one. You insisted we do it.
We should have skipped this one.